tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I'd like to welcome everyone this evening, and I'm glad everyone was able to join. And it looks like this is going to be my last Dhamma talk from Australia, and last Dhamma talk I'm giving from overseas. So I should be returning to Canada in just a few days, and so yeah, it's been a long a long trip, a long time, but a beneficial trip definitely. But it's one of these ones where at times like this, when there's an ending and we start to become aware of an ending in things. So, an ending of a trip, an ending of a job, an ending of a relationship with someone, or any type of ending there is. This is one of these times when, we really become aware of impermanence, become aware of anicca. I remember when I was a junior monk, it was one of the pieces of advice that Ajahn gave to us one time when he was visiting, was just, in our daily life to start to become aware of endings. They can be little endings, they can be big endings, but because this is a time when it's usually easy for us to see and reflect upon impermanence, even though things are changing all along, it's, these ending times where we can really reflect on impermanence. And impermanence or anicca, this is one of the three characteristics or the tilakkhana. So, the Buddha was saying that there's these three characteristics that um, all conditioned phenomena have. They're impermanent, they're dukkha. And so dukkha, we usually translate dukkha as suffering, but suffering is not really actually a very accurate translation for dukkha, because dukkha, it covers such a spectrum. And usually when we think about suffering, we think about this, just like torture, like horrible suffering, or just wailing and despair. And but the word dukkha, it covers this spectrum from the most horrible, torturous suffering, all the ways down just to stress and discontent. And so this is another one of these characteristics of phenomena that everything shares. And the third one is what's called anatta, or not self. And when the Buddha talked about these, it was a little different because impermanence and dukkha, so anicca and dukkha, he said these are for all conditioned phenomena. But then this third characteristic, this characteristic of not self, he said not only is this for all conditioned phenomena, but all unconditioned phenomena as well. So basically, including nibbana as well in that. And this is this idea of not self. So the word in Pali is anatta, um, which atta is self and anatta is not self. And so the Sanskrit for it is an atman. So, there's this idea of atman, or the self. And so this is the not self. So this is saying that there's no permanent, um, uh, unchanging self within any type of phenomena. And and so these three things, these three characteristics, the Buddha wasn't just teaching them to us as, philosophy or as some type of uh inherent um like truth to them. He did say, this is real, this is part of it. But when we get to the teaching of the Buddha and everything he taught us, everything is methodology. Like all the Dhamma, everything in there, like he's not teaching ultimate truth because you can't teach someone ultimate truth. Ultimate truth has to be realized. Someone has to realize them for themselves. So when we do our reflections on the Dhamma, so in the monastery, when we do it in our morning and evening chanting, the reflection on Dhamma, ends with Pachatang Vedita Bo Vinyuhi, which means to be experienced individually by the wise. So when the Buddha gives us these three characteristics, yes, they are, a truth about the characteristic of existence of all conditioned and unconditioned things, but he was giving these to us as tools to use and to help us be able to see ultimate truth, to help us to be able to put an end to suffering. And so we take these three characteristics and we apply them in our meditation, in our contemplation. So, we can bring them up in daily life. So like I was just saying, when you looking for something like looking for endings and just bringing up that perception in life of uh, impermanence. But we can also really bring them back into our meditation and to get the really deep, penetrative wisdom. We need to bring these into our meditation. So when the Buddha talked about these different levels of understanding or wisdom in relation to different subjects, he said there was three levels of this understanding. The first level he called Sutta Maya Panya, which is just the level of understanding you get or wisdom you get just from hearing something. So, if someone tells you something or you read it, and that's the level of understanding you get from that. The next deeper level of understanding is what's called Chintamaya Panya. So Chintamaya Panya is the wisdom we get or the understanding we get from actually like contemplating something, from thinking about it, picking it apart in our mind, and just analyzing it like that. So it's even deeper than just hearing something and believing it. And then the third level, which is the deepest level of all, is called Bhavana Maya Panya. So this is the level of wisdom that we get actually from our meditation, from taking something, from using our meditation and contemplating it with our meditation. And this is the deepest level, and this is like the penetrative level. So when we're really trying to put an end to our greed, hatred, delusion, put an end to suffering, really get deep, penetrating wisdom, which is going to fundamentally change us, like to make these permanent changes for like enlightenment. This is the type of wisdom that we need for that, and we need to develop for that. And that's saying that that doesn't mean that the other ones don't count, like that, oh, just don't think about it, don't contemplate, don't do that, just meditate on. We can do the other things as well. It's going to be helpful too, but it's this real deep penetrative meditative wisdom which is going to make these real changes and really help us get rid of our suffering. And so, um, and we can use these three characteristics as tools to analyze our experience in existence. So, we can look at the three characteristics in anything in life, but a lot of times, especially when we do it for in the meditation, and especially the way it's taught in the Thai forest tradition by Lumpur Mun, one of the places we really start and we really work on is our, ourselves and particularly our bodies. And sometimes to some people it seems strange, why start contemplating the body? It's the mind, so much of the suffering is in the mind, and all these teachings about the mind. But one of the reasons we start with the body is the body is a massive place for attachments. We are so attached to our bodies. We see this as self. We really see this self in the body. But one of the other things is because the body is very easy to see. We can literally see it with our eyes. We can touch it, we can feel it, we can smell it, you can taste it. You have all your senses you experience in the body. So it's right here, it's tactile and it moves fairly slowly. It's changing fairly slowly. Where something like the mind can be really quick. It's constant boom, boom, boom. It can be all over the place. So whereas the body is a more solid base for us to contemplate. So when I was living with Lumpur Biek, there was one time after the Patimokkha. So the Patimokkha is the monk's rules. So every 2 weeks on the new moon and the full moon, all the monks living together will get together, and one of the monks gets up and chants the Patimokkha. So they chant this set of 227 rules, and they do it all in Pali. And in the Thai tradition, you do it all from memory, so you've got to memorize it. And someone chanting very quickly, can usually do it in about 45 minutes. And so it's quite a thing. And then afterwards, traditionally there's a Dhamma talk. So the senior monk will give a Dhamma talk, and it's just the monks present. So it's usually, very specific to the monks. And there was this one time when I was staying with Lumpur Biek that he gave this really beautiful talk after the Patimokkha about body contemplation. And it was such a good talk that his vice abbot and his secretary and attendant, it's all one person. This one monk does it all, and he had recorded it and he transcribed it into Thai, and he actually got a another monk to translate it into English as well because he just thought it was such a great talk. And Lumpur Biek was talking about body contemplation, and he kept bringing it back to this simile, this comparison to shooting an arrow and trying to shoot a target with an arrow. And he said, doing body contemplation, he said it's like shooting a target which is on the ground, which is there, it's staying still, and trying to just go straight to contemplating the mind. He said it's like trying to shoot a target which is flying through the air. It's going to be much more difficult. So he, encouraging us to start with, contemplating our bodies. We can see like in the body itself, there's so much of the three characteristics in it. So, for example, impermanence. We can look at, how it's constantly changing, how our body was when we were young, when we got a little bit older, how it is now. And we can, from seeing older people, we have a pretty good idea how it's going to get when we get older. So the body's going through this constant change, and it's very impermanent. And I remember Ajahn Dhamma was visiting Wat Nanachat once when I was a junior monk, and he was talking about how he had given this Dhamma talk about the impermanence of the body and how it changes to a group of lay people in Canada. And he was saying, yeah, even they say all the cells in your body every 7 years, all the cells in your bodies change and completely replace themselves. And they said one layman interrupted him then and said, well, actually there's some cells in the body which take a little longer than 7 years before they change. but you get the general idea that it's all this process, and so it's always changing. Sometimes we're healthy, then we get sick, and then we get healthy again. So the body is this process which is constantly changing, and it's also it can be a source for a lot of dukkha, a lot of suffering, because we one forms, we get illness, we get as you get older, the aches and pains. When you're young, as like a teenager or early 20s, and you hear older people talking about their aches and pains, you don't really understand it. But then once you get there, you're like, okay, yeah, now I know what they're talking about. I've got that sore back now, or the sore neck. So it is a place that, a lot of aches and pains can come up, but a lot of suffering can come up around the body also because of our attachments to the body, because it is changing, and sometimes we don't want it to change. It's not changing in the way we want to. So, you see so many people, all around the world spending phenomenal amounts of money to try to not age, to try to look younger, surgeries, all kinds of things, hair replacement, and for a lot of people it is so much suffering that their body is changing. Even some men, when they start going bald, and start losing the hair on top. They'll get hair replacement surgeries or all these things to try to make that not happen, you know. Whereas if you're a monk and you start going bald on the top, it's no problem. It just makes head shaving day easier. You have less to shave, you know. It's so it's but again, but we've all seen it in life how this um how much suffering there can be around how the body is changing. And then the body not being self, because so much of our perceptions around ourself is our body. We experience the world through our bodies, through our senses, and we really feel like this is me, this is mine. Someone insults your body, and it's hurtful. Like it's like, oh, hey Nando, you got fat, and it's like, oh, ouch, oh, and because we're so attached to it and around this, but it's really not self. So one of the things, because it even in and of itself, it's not one thing. It's a whole bunch of things. And this is one of the things when we really start getting into doing body contemplation, we're really looking at this. So, one of the comparisons you always hear is, the body is very similar to like a car. A car, you look at it and you think, car, okay, this is one thing. But if you actually take it apart and you lay all the pieces, on the ground, you see, actually, the car, it's a whole bunch of things which have been put together. And so it's not just one thing, it's many parts. And so this is one of the ways we do for contemplating the body is in our meditation is we can do these body contemplation where we actually we can visualize and we can analyze the parts of the body, and so we start changing that perception of it just being one thing and break it down into different parts. So even in the ordination for monks, the meditation that's given to us in our ordination ceremony, it's not breath meditation, it's not loving kindness meditation. It's actually a type of body contemplation. We're given these first the five parts of the body, and so uh, it's the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And then we're given them in forward order and reverse order because these are the parts of the body that you see from the outside. And so there's many different approaches to body contemplation and how to do it. So one is just, just looking at them part by part. One of the ways Luang Por Biak would teach it and encourage people to do it was at the end of their meditation session, just to take a little period of time at the end of it and just bit piece by piece to take our bodies apart. Obviously visualizing, not actually taking it apart, just through in our meditation, eyes closed, and taking the hair and looking at what does the hair look like, the hair of the body, the nails, teeth, skin, and going through all the different parts of the body, the different organs. We have this list called the 32 parts, but you don't have to do it exactly like that. You can do it whatever feels right for you. And then so take it apart and then put the body back together. And he'd recommend to do this 3 times just at the end of our meditation. And again, and one of the reasons why we do it at the end of our meditation like this is there's kind of two, as far as my understanding from the Thai forest tradition, how we teach it, there's two main ways for developing wisdom through body contemplation. One way is the idea of building your concentration first. So you do your meditation, your mind becomes very peaceful. And then when you come out of that, it's when you contemplate. And then you start contemplating the body like this. So you've really built up this power from the meditation and this concentration, this peacefulness, all this power to it. And when you come out of the meditation, you've still got that power to it, and using that power to contemplate. And this is what makes it go deeper. But you can also go the other way around, is some people will use the contemplation itself as the meditation object. So instead, the first example would so instead of making your mind peaceful, going like breath meditation, and then you come out doing contemplation, is the way to make your mind peaceful is through doing, say, body contemplation. And so contemplating your body, and then your mind becomes peaceful And then when you come out of that peacefulness, the wisdom will start to arise. But with doing a practice like body contemplation, it's really good to really be aware of the effects it's having on you. So there are for some people, with certain temperaments and stuff, that they find when they do body contemplation, maybe the next day, they get grumpy or they get depressed or they get kind of a little angry. So watch yourself. If you're finding that if you're doing body contemplation and you're finding that afterwards you're it's negatively affecting your moods. Take a break from it. Either do a little less or take a break from it for a while and just work more on developing the concentration, developing loving kindness, making that type of foundation before starting to do something like uh, body contemplation. But so this is like I said, this is one thing which in the Thai forest tradition for monks is emphasized is using the body and trying to develop uh, uh, wisdom with contemplating the body in terms of the three characteristics. So I would like to leave that with everyone as a bit of a reflection for this evening.